Today on Locked On Rockies. Well, it's a day that ends in Y. So the Rockies struck out a lot, lost, and played from behind. Well, that sounds like the classic case of 2024 Colorado Rockies baseball.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock On Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today. Got to make sure they got the right mic going on. All right, cool. Perfect. All right. We are here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can let me know what's on your mind. You can let me know what you're thinking about when it comes to the Colorado Rockies in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section, where we really appreciate your support. Really appreciate you tuning in. It's where Cassidy Dean writes into the show and says today's game against the Padres was a continuation of this year's storyline. 11 strikeouts while only getting 6, 4 hits all night while giving up 9. We're getting beaten daily on both sides of the ball. Rockies went up against a good pitcher again yesterday. And what happens? They don't do anything on offense. They're held mostly hitless throughout most of the game. A sacrifice fly does put the Rockies on the board, but the team falls to 5-18 on the season as the Padres improve to 13-12. We're going to dive into that and more today on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Before we dive into everything today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. If you love Monopoly, if you want to play a fast-paced mobile version of it, go check out the classic twist on Monopoly Go. Join your friends and download Monopoly Go free on the App Store or Google Play. I'm going to start the show off these are just the situations and the history the Colorado Rockies have made this week and over the weekend. Okay, so from Patrick Saunders here, the Rockies 2 runs in the 10th inning Sunday snapped a 23-inning home scoreless streak. That was the longest in franchise history. So that was Sunday. And then yesterday's game, the Rockies became the first team since the 1931 Reds, to trail in each of its first 23 games. Let's see here. Also here from Patrick, Lions. Nearly half of the Colorado Rockies estimated $168.3 million payroll, including 5 of their 7 highest players, is on the injured list. Chris Bryant, $28 million. Kyle Freeland, $15 million. Antonio Senzatella, $12 million. German Marquez, $10 million. Daniel Bard, $9.5 million. Those are the numbers. I mean, that's it. Plain and simple, folks. I mean, it doesn't matter what you can. Dylan Cease. That's exactly why the Padres went out and got him, to go get another big arm to put into that rotation. The NL West, 2 teams in the NL West replenished their starting rotations with quality arms, and the Rockies thought that this lineup was going to be able to handle it, but this team can't hit. Can't hit the broadside of a barn, can't get the big hit, can't get on base, can't stop striking out. Again, it's another situation where you're watching that game yesterday and you say, adjustment? Or you just have to, I guess we're just going to have to get used to this year. When the Rockies face an elite pitcher, just throw your hands up and say it's 1 run. If you're lucky. But here's the one thing that we have to do right now. And this goes to folks that are maybe outside of the Rockies area. The Coors Field effect for the Rockies in terms of making them always a threat at home, you can just omit that from your prep, from your radio, from your eliminate that talking point from your pre-show and your post-show when you're talking about the Rockies. This team can't hit. Flat out can't hit. This team, the lack of offense is incredible. The Rockies have now scored 5 runs in 4 games while trailing in every single game. The Rockies in their last 6 games have outscored themselves in 1 game. One 7-6 loss against the Phillies. They'd scored more runs in that one game than they did in the other 5. The Rockies have been shut out twice in the past week, including once at home. The Rockies haven't scored more than 2 runs during a homestand. It's abysmal. It's pathetic. It's a moment that continues to remind you that this team is far behind. Oh, and I forgot to update my overlay. Whoops. I'm going to do that right now. Live production. That's what we do. Here we go. This overlay will better match what we're doing here. It's one thing for things to be going bad for the Rockies. It's another for it to be historically bad. I did the same podcast, I'm pretty sure, last year. We talked about the Rockies' biggest step forward would be negating the skids. Making it so they don't go through long stretches of bad baseball. Well, they've played almost basically a month straight of bad baseball. Even while staying in the game. I mean, Austin Gomber gives up the 1 earned, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, but keeps you in a tie ball game. Nick Mears, there he is again. 2 earned runs. What happens in there? There's a walk, 3 hits. But I really don't even want to focus on the fact of on the pitching that much, because this offense is so disappointing. This was supposed to be a season in which the Rockies were going to take a step forward when it comes to offense, when instead they're not even close. I mean, Nolan Jones is batting 143 with 35 strikeouts to 8 walks. I mean, that's crazy. And certainly some folks could have seen it, and some folks would have called it and were in it on ahead of time. But Michael Tolia's batting 106. Chris Bryant's batting 149. Brendan Rodgers is batting 194 with 18 strikeouts. The Rockies have multiple people with over 20 strikeouts at this point in the season and are closer to 30 strikeouts. There is a good chance that Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovar, Ryan McMahon, and Nolan Jones all finished the first month of the season with over 30 strikeouts. Outmatched, outprepared. I mean, these are pros. These are pros going up against pros. Obviously better hitters than I. But I mean, man, the highest OPS on the team comes from Sean Bouchard, and he's played 4 games. The second highest comes from Jacob Stallings. And I know they've played a fraction of the games. And again, I sit here and I say, thank goodness for Ezekiel Tovar and Ryan McMahon. Because they're the ones that are actually being consistent. Brenton Doyle up there too. The drop-off from these other players is ridiculous. Elias Diaz had a nice batting line as here as well. But just in terms of batting average, the slugging, the OPS numbers, they're not great. Mixed in with the fact that this team can't stop striking out. Good Lord. It's so exhausting to watch an offense just strike out 10 times a game. Was it 27 outs in a game of baseball, right? Was it 3 times 9? That's 27. Yeah. That's dumb. I'm just doing some quick math here. So 27 divided by 10. It's what? I mean, it's like 2.7 strikeouts an inning. Actually, no, I'm not getting that right. Regardless. I mean, again, the question from yesterday. Where is do you just have to hope? Do you just have to pray? These are division rivals. This is Coors Field. All of the stuff you can lean on as the Rockies just ain't the case. I mean, you can lean on the injury, sure. But realistically, would the Rockies be much better with Chris Bryant in the lineup right now? The biggest, you can't even knock the pitchers too much outside of, Dakota Hudson's last performance and the 7 spot there put up by the Mariners. There have been decent starts in the middle here. But man, I do wonder what's going on in Dick Monfort's mind. I mean, it is ridiculous. All while the Rockies are currently under federal investigation for breaking aviation laws. I mean, you can't make this up. These are the storylines the Rockies are facing. I want to talk about a positive from yesterday, though. I want to talk about something that was a difference maker, at least a little bit, in yesterday's game, and a difference maker that can start helping the Rockies avoid these bad skids here, coming up in segment number 2 of today's episode. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Game Time. Folks, I can't emphasize enough how much I love buying tickets through Game Time. It is my preferred way to buy tickets to all of my favorite events, especially sporting events, especially big concerts, too. I've loved using Game Time for concerts. Great way to get better deals on tickets, especially last-second ones when you're on the fence about figuring out if you're going to go or not. I love all of the options. I love the upfront pricing as well, and you can get views from all of the seats in the venue. That way, when you are picking out your seat, you are picking the right one. It's one of those things that helps boost your confidence and makes you feel better when you're buying tickets. They got the lowest price guarantee. They got event cancellation protection. They got all sorts of stuff to make sure that they take care of you in case you need to figure out how to handle your tickets. They even got the zone deals when you can choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We're also brought to you by Policygenius. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with the financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team, and you can check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. Hey, if you are looking for your next sports fix, your next thing to have in the background while you're doing your chores and all that good stuff, like you do with maybe Fox Sports or ESPN, you can make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can also get all your action of the Colorado Rockies on Sirius XM. Just search Colorado Rockies and you on the XM, on Sirius XM or the Sirius XM app, and you are good to go when it comes to Rockies baseball. So, Rockies, history making. They have trailed in every single game in this history of theirs. They had the longest scoreless streak for them in Coors Field's history. But one thing yesterday, there is one thing that I would like to point out that went well for the Rockies yesterday, and actually it will be something that can be a silver lining, the smallest of silver linings. Rockies defense showed up yesterday. And that Rockies defense shows that it has the elite potential. And Nolan Jones, while he's struggling, he's getting a better look and he's getting more comfortable out there in the field by taking some good angles at balls yesterday and using that arm strength or the threat of the arm strength to keep runners staying at second, keep runners from advancing very much. I know they have ended up scoring there in that in what is it, the 8th, 7th, or 8th. But you could hear, I did a lot of listening to the game yesterday as opposed to watching just with how it went. But you could tell that Nolan Jones, when he was getting in position, when he was fielding the ball, when he was able to be in a spot to make a throw, the Padres were hesitant to challenge that. Even with the fact that he hasn't really gunned out very many people this year, the throws have been a little inaccurate. He's getting a little bit more confident in there. Plus, we saw some great chase downs of some hits there in the outfield, both Brenton Doyle and Nolan Jones communicating well. The defense brewing a little bit more and more. But, of course, headlined by the really, really great Brendan Rodgers double play that almost got the Rockies off out of there. I believe that was in the 8th as well when they scored. The pockets and flashes of the good Rockies defense are showing. We've seen Ryan McMahon make a couple of great plays lately as well. This team's defense is a strength. It certainly was not in the beginning of the year, and it certainly has been a problem at other points. I believe in one of those, I think in the finale, was it the finale against the Mariners where they had 3 errors as well? It still is far from clean. It's still far from where we expect this Rockies team to be, because really going into this season, I thought defense was easily going to be the number one strength of this team. There's still issues with it, but you're starting to see the team get a little bit better on defense, and you're starting to see the guys get a little bit more confident. It's really great to see, especially I think Brendan Rodgers still making sure that he can feel comfortable and confident diving around and getting dirty and making plays like he's able to do. And I'm hoping the defense with those two guys, if Nolan Jones and Brendan Rodgers can get their defense going, they can, of course, get the offense going. 2 players known for slow starts as well. But, I mean, again, the first month of the season wraps up next week. I mean, realistically, it's 1 month of baseball is going to be played, I think, by this weekend, if you're going by the end of March and such. So as much as we can be encouraged by that, whatever slump buster stuff they got to do, they better start implementing it sooner rather than later, because it continues to be a massive problem for the Rockies, those 2 players underperforming on offense. But I was really impressed by the defense. I really do think that that's going to be something that the pitchers can feel more confident in, is when they see their players backing themselves or backing them up, making the big plays, making the key plays, and making the tough plays as well. But it's still a long way to go. Still a long way to go when it comes to the Rockies defense and getting to where they can be. But it's a reminder that the potential of this defense is very high. The ceiling of this Rockies defense is very, very high. Again, I still believe in the fact that all of the players we talked about are Gold Glove potential. The big 5 defenders: Jones, McMahon, Tovar, Rodgers, and Doyle. And not all of them have played like that, but that potential is still there. And I think that defense will be a difference maker when the Rockies can start figuring out how to get going on offense, because the biggest issue with this Rockies team right now is the offense. I mean, the pitching is one thing, but we knew that was going to be the case. But to be outscored so much at home is such a big problem. I mean, talk about the biggest identity crisis facing the Colorado Rockies right now is the lack of offensive production at home. Patrick Lyons here again. Colorado has scored 3 or fewer runs at home in 6 consecutive games, a franchise record. Rockies have scored 5 runs in 4 games at Coors Field for the first time in franchise history. 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 First time it's happened since 1931. First time it's done this. First time it's been this. First time it's been that. First time. And it's not the right history. Again, I implore the organization of the Colorado Rockies has to look at this month and has to look at this start to the season, and they have to reevaluate. It is not working. If you don't lie to me about hating losing and feeling confident in winning and not make any adjustments, or at least come out and embrace what this year is. Then say the word rebuild. I want Dick Monfort to come out and say the word rebuild. I do. I want Bill Schmidt to come out and say it. I want Bud Black to say it. I want them all to say it. I want an honest assessment of this team from the people that run this team, and I ain't gonna get it. You're not gonna get it. This team won't make a change in the middle of the season. I promise you that. This team might not even make any changes at the end of the season. Wonder how the conversations about extending Bud Black are going right now. No job should be safe. When you set this much bad history, why are you okay with that? Why are you content with that? Why are you okay with doing the same thing? Because I see two other teams in Colorado that never complain about market size. 3, actually. Only one. Which one? Which team's that? I think I'm going kind of out there. I think I'm losing my threads here. My point is, it's tough. I mean, it really right now it is tough to find the real silver linings. The defense was great. Ezekiel Tovar and Ryan McMahon have been great. I mean, if we were getting this Ryan McMahon in a season in which the Rockies were being competitive, the conversation and the narrative around him would be completely different right now. I mean, Ryan McMahon is playing very good baseball right now. And I think it's flying under the radar. The dude's batting .314, .390, .442 with an .832 OPS. He's walked 12 times. He's driven in 13. He's got 2 home runs. He's got 5 doubles with 27 hits. The Ryan McMahon strikeout problem we knew was a factor there. He's got 28, but he's contributing consistently for this Rockies lineup. Same with Ezekiel Tovar. 23 games. He's batting .307, .354, .466 with an OPS of .820. 29 strikeouts for the young Rockies shortstop, but 5 walks, 11 RBI, 3 home run. 5 doubles. Tovar and McMahon are the example for this team. Shout out to my guy Elias Diaz, too. 10 RBI, 16. I mean, he's got the 16 strikeouts, but batting .304, .347, .377, .724. I'm a big Elias Diaz, dude. Definitely not perfect. Definitely not the best catcher in the league. But I really do like what he brings. But, man, Rockies need Nolan Jones and Brendan Rodgers to get ready, to get going. They really need it. But until this Rockies offense starts scoring, it's going to be tough. The Rockies have now won 2 games out of their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The Rockies are 2-7 over their last 9. If you want to go one further back, they are 2-8 over their last 10. All right, let's preview the game. Let's see if the Rockies can bounce back here in game number 2 against the San Diego Padres. That's coming up in segment number 3. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime, and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure how you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep. Lift your head up and say to yourself, time to get back in the game. Pull off some bank heists and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. You can play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, and you can charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot. That's what we do around here is talk Rockies baseball each and every weekday. Available on those streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Go check it out over there. That's the best way to help support the show. Rockies taking on the Padres tonight, another 6:40 start. You won't be distracted by a beautiful Denver Nuggets basketball game last night. Oh boy, talk about fun. I'm in this matchup. I am actually really excited to watch Ryan Feltner. I've enjoyed watching Ryan Feltner pitch this year. He's someone I think that wanted to make his statement. Again, it's not the line isn't the prettiest line, but he's been fine. He's been able to help the Rockies be pretty consistent. He got roughed up in his last start, giving up the 6 earned runs with the 2 home runs. But before that, he's been decent. He's also got that 10 strikeout game there. He was pretty good against Toronto. Gives up a lot of hits. That's the big danger. He's given up 17 hits in his last 2 starts and 3 home runs in that time while walking 4. So he can get banged up. He can get dinged up. But hopefully here at Coors, here in the middle, the Rockies are going to be able to get the good Feltner, the Feltner that we know that is capable of doing big-time damage. And someone that I think is shown that he is trying to get his footing and establish himself here in the major leagues. 26 strikeouts to 8 walks. I like that number. The walks have been a problem here in the season though for him, walking at least 2 batters there in the 4 starts that he has had so far this season. So the walks certainly a factor for him and something that he's got to avoid today. As again, the best thing the Rockies can do is not only get ahead, but stay ahead, take the lead and hold it, maintain it. Break this streak of being behind, of trailing in every single game. They're going to have to go up against a pretty good pitcher here, but someone, again, I can't emphasize this stat line enough here for Michael King. 15 walks. 15 walks from Michael King. You have to be taking good at-bats against him today. There's no excuse. You have to look at the scouting report and say, this guy has walked nearly 20 batters in 4 starts. That's a problem. That's something that should be exploited. That's how you create the Coors game. Get the traffic going. Put the ducks on the pond. Get yourself in a situation where you can do hit and runs, bunts. Use the speed of the team. But it all starts with getting on base. The Rockies have to get on base, and they have to avoid the strikeout. He's got 29 strikeouts on the year. So the strikeout is certainly in King's arsenal. He can certainly strike you out. Another thing, though, 6 home runs. He's given up 6 home runs on the season. So that possibility to get the right pitch, the right swing, that's going to help the Rockies here. They can benefit from this. But it's just a matter of, can they get on base? Can they successfully work counts against King in order to get into favorable counts so they can take good positive hacks at the ball and take swings, competitive swings, and have competitive at bats? We cannot have Rockies players going out on 3 strikes, 4 pitches. It's got to be competitive, long at bats, and you have to be able to draw them out and get on base. I know the umpiring hasn't done the Rockies any favors, especially Nolan Jones, but still, that's got to be the focus there. Today's focus for the Rockies is getting on base. Get on base, and good things will happen. Get on base, put the ball in play. Back to the basics. For the Rockies right now, it's got to just go back to the basics because they ain't doing the basics right. Until you can see the ball, hit the ball, and get on base, you ain't going to score any runs. And the Rockies got an opportunity against a pitcher that has control issues in their hitter-friendly environment to start scoring some runs, something they desperately need to do. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And for your second listen of the day, if you need more baseball coverage, Locked On MLB's got you covered. But it's the thick of the playoffs. It's the heat of the playoffs. And you got to make sure that you are tuned in to Locked On Nuggets and Locked On Avalanche as they take you through the rest of the postseason. Locked On Broncos and Locked On Buffs got you covered for more Colorado sports coverage as well. But how do you not want to go listen and break down that amazing Denver Nuggets game from last night? Hey, there's your inspiration. Down 20 in the playoffs to LeBron James, one of the greatest players of all time, and Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets come back. There's your in-town inspiration. Embrace the Jokic. Believe in the Jokic. Believe in the Jamal Murray. And take that momentum, take that inspiration, and make it into a good baseball game tonight. Man, I'd love to see the Rockies just win a slobber knocker, just clobber somebody. And I know that locker room would too. Folks, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back in action tomorrow. More Locked On Rockies heading your way, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until then, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.